The time has come, Dinosaur is closing. And no, this isn't just another sad Disney closure. This is revolting art destruction. For years, Disney fans have been trained to accept destruction and cheap rethemes of existing rides and attractions as progress. To clap while masterpieces are dismantled and replaced with hollow IP-driven slop. And Dinosaur is the latest victim of that mentality. Let's rewind a bit. Dinosaur is one of the last great original dark rides Disney ever built. Also one of the few aggressive, loud, chaotic, scary. No cute sidekicks. No emotional safety net. Just raw tension, incredible pacing, practical effects, and some of the best ride engineering Imagineering ever pulled off. This wasn't a ride designed to sell plushies. It was designed to really immerse yourself in a time where nature was basically alien to us. And that's exactly why it no longer fits modern Disney. Animal Kingdom was once sold as a park about nature, extinction, conservation, and humanity's relationship with the planet. Dinosaur fit that mission perfectly. It wasn't just about dinosaurs, it was about loss, danger, and the violence of nature itself. Now compare that to what Disney wants Animal Kingdom to be today. A soft, sanitized IP zoo where nothing is allowed to scare, challenge, or linger in your mind. You're supposed to only see a nature that gives you dopaminergic shots straight to the brain, stimulating you to buy generic Zootopia trash, Encanto photo frames, and I can't even say Indiana Jones stuff, since the franchise is apparently dead according to Kathleen Kennedy herself. How in a million years are we supposed to believe that Encanto, which has literally nothing to do with animals, fits a park about conservation and animals? I know the soy jacks and mouth breathers in the comments will be screeching, but there'll probably be a vague reference to animals in the last few seconds of the ride. Yeah, sure. A minimal animal connection tacked on at the end doesn't make it fit Animal Kingdom. By that logic, you could shove an inside-out land in there if you establish that Riley's just thinking really hard about conservation in her head. See how ridiculous that sounds? And on the same note, Indiana Jones fits even worse. It doesn't fit at all with the park, no matter how far you stretch it. A franchise about an archaeologist who travels the world stealing artifacts and dumping them in museums? That belongs in Hollywood Studios or Adventureland, not a park pretending to care about real animals and real nature. Even if you argue the whole Tropical Americas thing should go to World Showcase, and yeah, the Encanto part could maybe work there, Indiana Jones still wouldn't fit. Not even a little. Speaking of which, why isn't Disney building this Latin culture celebrating land in World Showcase instead of cramming it into the animal park? It's really interesting that they're forcing this in Animal Kingdom instead of the park literally about world cultures.
I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble. And I don't want to be in big trouble.
Almost like priorities are completely backwards. And here's where Joe Rohde enters the conversation. I've already called him out as a complete hypocrite and petty sellout in my video on how Zootopia Better Zoogether proves idiocracy is real. But I can't make a video about this calamity without dragging him through the mud one more time. Joe Rohde loves to position himself as the anti-exec, the true artist, the rebel, the man who fights the suits. And yes, he did incredible work in the past. But that mythology has gone completely out the window in the name of pennies and status. Joe, you're not the guy who fights the execs anymore. You're the bootlicker. When Bob Iger basically shat on your work and called Expedition Everest a nondescript coaster themed to India or whatever, you fired back on Instagram, defending yourself and your team like the principled artist you pretend to be, but that was it. You then happily kept working. Look out, Kay, no problem. When they asked you to gut Tower of Terror in 11 months flat, you did it, no pushback. And don't get me started on the no pants rule. You explicitly said Zootopia couldn't be an Animal Kingdom because it broke the rule. Animals as proxies for humans wearing clothes, dealing with human issues instead of animal ones. You enforced that no pants principle for years. Then, what happened? You not only championed Zootopia on the Tree of Life, but now you're helping build an entire land where everyone's wearing pants, has zero real connection to animals, and spits on every principle you and Michael Eisner established for the park, principles you repeated ad nauseum for decades.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
You're a sold-out bean counter just like the rest of them. Not even half the man Tony Baxter was, a genuinely talented guy who walked away from Tiana's Bayou adventure because he saw it was going to be garbage. At least I can sleep easy knowing that deep down, you're probably unsure about this new direction. You helped destroy the park you spent decades building and earning respect for. Now Animal Kingdom is just slop, like California Adventure became, like Adventure World in Paris turned into. You opened the gates for this path. In a few decades, the park will be unrecognizable from its original state, just like Epcot got hollowed out. And no one will remember your work. They'll just be there to ride the next nondescript dark ride based on whatever generic new Disney fantasy IP they vomit out next. And I hate to be the guy who has to say these things. Because I'm not a hater. I truly love the Walt Disney Company. Its creator, its legacy. A legacy that Dinosaur is a massive part of. For most of us, it's the defining ride of one of the most special parks Disney ever built. Dinosaur isn't just a ride, it's one of the best-written attractions Disney ever created. And that alone makes its closure a goddamn tragedy. Unlike most modern attractions, Dinosaur has something Disney Parks has completely forgotten how to do: strong lore, memorable dialogue, and actual characters. Not mascots. Not walking IP billboards. Characters. From the moment you step into the queue, Dinosaur establishes its world with clarity and confidence. You're not just waiting for a ride. You're being recruited into a mission, introduced to a shady company, a ticking conflict, and a moral line you know is about to get crossed. The Dino Institute isn't some generic corporate conservation unit like the one in Flight of Passage. It feels real, less polished, more careless, arrogant, human. And then there's Dr. Seeker. Dr. Seeker is one of the best attraction characters Imagineering ever wrote, and almost no one talks about him anymore. He's reckless, he's selfish, he's funny, and he knows exactly what he's doing is wrong. Many of his lines are iconic because they do something modern Disney flat-out refuses to do. They trust the audience to understand moral ambiguity. They're funny without trying too hard. They just flow perfectly with the ride, like the best bits in Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, or Pirates of the Caribbean. I always say it, the more quotable a ride is, the more legendary it becomes. Dr. Seeker isn't a hero. He's not a villain either. He's an egotistical scientist whose curiosity and ambition override every shred of common sense, and that makes him compelling as hell. Contrast that with today's attractions, where every character has to be likable, safe, inspirational, and completely frictionless. Dinosaur dares to let its central figure be deeply flawed. And then the ride itself. Dinosaur isn't chaotic by accident. Its pacing is deliberate. The darkness isn't lazy, it's weaponized. The sound design, the abrupt stops, the sudden silhouettes, everything keeps you on edge. Crucially, it never lets you relax. Even the humor is nervous, sharp, situational. Evasive maneuver. Right, left, left. That was close. They're not gonna make it. They're not gonna make it. You made it. I knew you would. And guess who made it back with you? These are lines people still quote decades later because they're embedded in the experience. Modern Disney has lost that entirely. Today, attractions explain themselves to death. They pause. They reset your emotions. They're terrified of silence, darkness, discomfort. Dinosaur understands something modern Imagineering doesn't.
You don't think! You never figured out how to think!
Fear is immersive. And this brings us to the real crime. Dinosaur fits Animal Kingdom perfectly. Animal Kingdom was never meant to be a happy zoo. It was a park about extinction, conservation, and the raw violence of nature. Dinosaur confronts you with the brutal truth. Survival is random, unfair, often merciless. You don't win Dinosaur. You escape it. Barely. Disney can't handle that anymore. They want you to finish the ride smiling, primed to buy some overpriced popcorn bucket tied to a cute scene you just saw under the.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
This nepotistic banker-controlled management. They'll never build a masterpiece like this again. Instead of defending it, preserving it, or even improving it, they chose to erase it. The death of Dinosaur proves something devastating. Modern Disney doesn't know how to write characters like Dr. Seeker anymore. They don't know how to pace a thrill ride with real narrative discipline. And they sure as hell don't know how to trust their audience. So they don't add, they replace, they don't refine, they overwrite. And that's why Dinosaur had to die. Not because it was outdated, but because it was better than anything they can make today. If there's something worse than an idiot, it's an envious idiot. And that's exactly what modern Imagineers and executives have become. They hate Walt Disney and the former Imagineers so much because deep down they know they were hired only because they belong to the same nepotistic group as Bob Iger. They know they can't create, only destroy. And if there's one thing they're competent at, it's destruction. They'll probably succeed at turning the parks into generic IP farms. But as long as they keep trying, me and a few hundred others will keep exposing it. We'll keep fighting. Because like Walt himself once said, I love the nostalgic myself. I hope we never lose some of the things of the past. He was right. We should always fight to preserve history, our heroes, the culture that meant so much to us. Stories matter because they tell us who we are and what we're losing. If this loss frustrates you as much as it frustrates me, smash that like button. Write in the comments which extinct attraction still hurts the most. Subscribe before they IP the rest of your childhood. We'll be back. Until then, remember, extinction doesn't happen overnight. It happens when no one fights back.